hello. Amara Charles here, and very, very excited. We have a very special Facebook Live today. Thank you all for coming. And today we are going to be talking about how to create safety, care, and trust in our intimate engagements. And with me today, very special guest, Dr. Glenn Wilcox. And I'm going to say a little bit about him, and I'm going to go ahead and bring him on so we get a chance to meet. Welcome, Glenn. It's very, very nice to have you. And I have invited Dr. Glenn Wilcox here, who is a holistic integrative health practitioner in Albuquerque. And he has worked in the field of sexual health for men and women for many, many years. I'll let him fill you in a little bit about his background. And I have invited him here not only because I consider Dr. Wilcox an expert in his field and just fantastic at what he does in helping to heal people from all kinds of issues, ranging from trauma to all sorts of health issues in regards to their sexual health and beyond. And also, I'm inviting him here because we're good friends, and Glenn has come and we've presented together. And also, Glenn has come to a number of the spiritual sexuality workshops that I have presented here in Santa Fe. And so, without further ado, I'd like to just warmly welcome you and thank you for coming. I'm so excited about our conversation today. Welcome, Glenn.
Amara, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Truly a pleasure. I'm so excited about this. Yeah. And so, as you said, it's almost 50 years now I've been doing what I do. And basically, I was, in simple terms, I was called to a career in energy medicine just about 50 years ago. And at that time, energy medicine didn't exist. I didn't know what it was. That occurred during a very profound spiritual experience I had. And so I set out on a path in life to figure that out and master that. And I'm still on that path. And certainly sexuality is an essential part of energy medicine. And energy medicine can bring, an energy approach can really bring and optimize much elevated levels of intimacy and pleasure for people to have together out there. Yeah.
Well, yes, and certainly having that touch, that special touch is, I can say by experience that in your chiropractic work that you really do have a very special touch. And I am curious, what have you found about how your ability to, let's start with communication, okay? And then
Yeah.
we'll move on to the specialty of touch. But starting with communication, what do you know as a man and as a practitioner? What do you know about the major things necessary in the communication to create a space of trust and intimacy?
Yeah. That's so important. I have been given feedback by the people in my life, especially the women in my life, that they feel very safe and they trust me, and that's really important for the relationship to evolve. And so, in considering, as I hear that, I go, and they ask me, they say, Glenn, you need to teach this to others. You need to get this out there. And so I've been reflecting on, well, what is it that's unique? What am I doing that's different? Why would I be different? And part of it, I think there are three key components for the individual person before you even get into communicating with another. And one is the ability to be really, not the ability, just being comfortable in your own skin. It is essential to just be able to be comfortable in your own skin. And that's a whole topic. I'll put down the three first, then get back into a few details of each. Next would be being able to be vulnerable, to be able to make some mistakes, to be able to not be, the master, the perfect one, but to be vulnerable to learning and exploring and kind of being a little uncomfortable at times, right? About that, but being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And finally, self-intimacy. Before you can ever have intimacy with another, you have to be able to be intimate with yourself. And I'm not speaking about sexual intimacy. I'm speaking about just being able to be and know yourself. So,
okay, great. Well, I love that. All right. And so when you talk about being vulnerable, how does a man do that? I mean, I know from my perspective, the ways that I can allow myself to let go of trying to do it right, let go of trying to be perfect, let go. How have you found that there's a doorway to be vulnerable? Because what you say is like it's a kind of a paradox. What I heard is like, first of all, you got to be like comfortable in your skin, and then at the same time, well, you got to be vulnerable. So talk to us about that.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head. That juxtaposition of those two yin yang forces, right? Yes, you're a man and you're comfortable in your skin, but in a gentle kind of way, you're just able to, okay, without expectations. And then at the same time, being able to go, okay, I'm supposed to be really knowledgeable about how to be intimate with you and how to touch you and how to please you. But I'm kind of not sure if I'm doing it right. And as I reflected on my own life, when I first became sexually active, which was kind of unique, I was 16 in 1967, the summer of love. I saved myself. I was a virgin until I was 20. Saving myself for my true love through the 60s. Go figure, right? Real romantic. It was a good thing. But when I first started to become sexually active, I realized I don't know, I knew anatomy, but I don't know. And so I would really ask women, what makes you feel good? What makes you feel comfortable? And the feedback I got was, who are you? Guys are not doing this, right? And I didn't know I was doing anything different. It was just, that was not, guys are supposed to know. Yeah, that more young side, that assertive, no, I know what I'm doing here. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it, right? And I went, I don't know what. And so I was candid about that and very vulnerable. And that opened the doorway to way better levels of communication.
Wow. Now, you know what? Because for one thing, I was kind of a late bloomer too, like you. My first experience was also when I was almost 20. And what I love about what you say, and you pull back like so many years ago, and you pull back this one thing that is absolutely fantastic. You say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, I know this, I know that, I know the anatomy, but the reality, I don't know. Talk to me, tell me, like, is that still true today?
Yes, it is. And so my evolution personally, in terms of sexual intimacy, is it's been so beautiful for me to be able to explore touching a woman, in more and more gentle ways, and getting more feedback and going, holy smokes, I thought I was being gentle. And there's a whole other level of gentleness and sensitivity that women just go, oh, yes. Even to the point where you're not even touching. It's like this energy connection between their sensitive areas and your fingers or tongue or lips or whatever. And so I here is my personal feeling. While there's this little part of me that goes, ugh, if a woman says no, could you do it a little differently? There's this little part of me that goes, ugh, I'm not being good enough. But that's such a little part. It's there. I must say I pay it. I'm aware of it. But the overall sense is, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful. It turns me on.
Beautiful.
It turns me on when you tell me what it is that turns you on, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And guide me and go a little different, a little. It's like yes, yes, yes. And what I hear from women is that's not something that happens in most relationships. Well,
I want to talk about that particular thing because that's gold right there. What is it that what do you think it is that you do or say that makes it safe for women to say, I don't like that? Because like I know from my own experience, both personally and with all the clients I've had, that's like the scariest part. Is like a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, like, well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Or, oh my God, I have said this like 100 and they just never get it. But something is different about how come there's two things. How come it's safe, first of all? Do you let them know that it's okay? How do they know that it's okay that they can say something they don't like? Let's start there.
Okay. Yes. So I've been thinking about this too. And I absolutely express that it turns me on for you to tell me those things. And it turns me on for you to correct me and guide me. I express that to them.
Wow. So like, wait, slow down because this is fantastic. So what do you say? Like, how do you say that? I say, like, just pretend. Like, how would you say that to?
So at different times, it'll be different. So if they give me a little, then I will just immediately go, oh, oh, I love it when you do that. That turns me on, right? Boom, that feedback constantly.
Wow.
But even before then is setting the stage so that, hey, this is where everything is okay. Just basically stating it really is. It turns me on. It's important to me for you to express those things to me. Just know I love it when that happens. And I know that may be not how it's been in the past for you, but for me, I really appreciate that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
No, this is so important. I just want to underline that because what you're saying is setting the stage beforehand. And there is permission. You can say it in different ways, but somehow in the conversation beforehand, and this is even true for couples that know each other really well, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Maybe even more so,
I
right?
know, I know, I know. And so you say, hey, like, I, I really want to make you, I really want you to know, I really want to let you know that you can say anything. It's really okay. In fact, I get kind of turned on when you let me know. It's exciting to me.
Yeah. And so in established relationships where you've been in the groove for a while, and it may need for someone to say, hey, let's get a little risque here. Let's explore, let's try this new thing. And it may need to be a little structured at first. And who knows? Something just comes through my mind. I'll spit it out there, which could be very useful. A dear friends of mine, a couple, shared with me what they do sometimes. They do actually weekly. And what they do is one of them ties up the other person and blindfolds them and then pleases them sexually for half an hour. and then they reverse it. So that person cannot do anything but receive and express what it is they want or what they're liking. And you might want to have some, it doesn't have to be that tied up-ish, but you might want to have something structured where, okay, for a half an hour, I'm touching you exactly how you want, and your job is to tell me what you want. So you structure it somehow as an exercise almost to start to.
Okay. All right. Well, great. That is another possibility, is that you create a container, a safe space where you're just going to do this for a little while, and then you can let that happen. I want to go back to that thing that you said earlier, because it's really, I know you have a background in energy work, and I know that you're a master at healing people's body energetically, sometimes without even touching them. I just happen to know this. And so you're an expert in energy. What kind of ways you could say for people that are not so familiar with the invisible energy realms? And it's a very, very common thing, I'm sure and sure you've experienced, that a lot of women say they'd like to be touched, with more sensitivity, with gentler, with, or more variety or something. And so, how can I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that have this question. How can you tell a guy and have him get it? And actually start to be like, oh, I can slow down, and he doesn't just forget 2 seconds later. What works from a man's point of view? Like, what can a woman say to you that would help guide you to understand these energy things more?
So, as I totally get your question, and I'm going to dial it back to a little different level, a foundation for that to occur, because I've thought about this too. And that gets back to what I was talking about at the very beginning about being comfortable, just being comfortable in your own skin, comfortable in yourself. Because if the man, in this case, we're talking about a male-female situation, it could be whatever, but let's just say in this case, the male, if the man is not comfortable just being present there, it doesn't matter what else is going on. Okay. A woman will pick that up and go, whoa, he's got other something else going on. He wants to, be inside me right now. He wants to go watch the football game. I don't know, but he's not here and present and comfortable in his own skin. And so I think that's really important. People pick up on that, especially women. They're so sensitive, and that does not allow them to feel safe and trusting. And so for the man to just really be present, I mean, I love just being there with my woman and touching her for however long, hours, and not have any expectation that, mine will come here.
Right. So there's just no goal. There's no agenda. There's no have to. There's no we should do this and so. So okay, I hear this a lot. That, and it's certainly true that a woman or any two women or two same-sex people, it's the same. One is present, the other is not. This is not a gender thing at all.
Right.
And that. And at the same time, it's like we can feel when you're elsewhere, where you're worried about what's going to happen, or you're thinking about something else, like you said, whatever. Well, what can a person do? What can a man do to snap back? I mean, how do you do it?
I have spent my life doing that. Okay. From my teen years on, learning skills to be able to be here now, be present. And so while it is a skill that any person can develop through all kinds of means, whether it's yoga or meditation or Tai Chi or eye gazing. Sometimes just the simple process of just sitting there with the one you love and looking into their eyes and synchronizing your breathing allows you to be present with them in dramatic ways. And then if you start to slip out of that into your own expectations and hopes and fears, then maybe you have a variation on a safe word, which is not
Yeah.
safe.
And just to rather than getting into those kind of complex things right now, it's like the major thing that it really comes back to, that I hear over and over again, is that we can't go deep enough. He just forgets. He's just not there. And so, you could create safe words, you create all these toys and adventures and this and that. What I'm curious about, because that's where I see there must be something. If you're getting a lot of feedback from the women in your life that you're a trustable space, that you're a trustable man, that you're caring, that they're willing to open up. I get that on the one hand, it's a lifelong practice, and you're absolutely correct. And my experience in that has been, well, whether it's you're going to think this is maybe funny, but it's like you're focused on fixing the inside engine of a car, or the components of a computer, or a bicycle, or a garden, or something, where all I'm saying is that you've totally tune out the rest of everything, and you just focus on what's at hand.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. Yes.
And that ability is, when you take that into the intimate world, that whoa, there's this being here that is completely focused, isn't jumping the gun, doesn't have an agenda, doesn't have a timer, doesn't want something, and is focused on me.
Yes.
On me. And it can be whoa, it's kind of edgy. It's actually whoa. And then at the same time, it's what allows us to relax.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that space of, think back to a time where you were feeling safe, is what we're talking about here. Is how do you create that intimacy? How do you create? We all know we want it. We all want the same thing. We want intimacy. We want safety. We want trust.
Yes.
But the question is, when we want this so much, to me, the key components is, I try to keep it simple. When I feel myself racing or wanting or jumping the gun, slow down. It's
yeah.
Well, come back to your body.
Absolutely. Slow down, be more gentle. We men, we have a hard time slowing down and being more gentle. And we just have to keep reminding ourselves and encouraging the one we love to remind us to do that. Because no matter how gentle and slow I am being, I always get feedback when I go slower and more gently. Oh, that's even better, right? And as you were talking, two things came up, and they are, I think, really important. One, I'm 70 years old. I was 60 years old before I got this.
Wow.
Okay. 60 years old. 10 years ago, my wife at the time, we were having she had some issues. We were having a little argument over her issues, and I went into mail. You brought up fixing the car, right? I went into my mail, fix the fucking car, pardon me, fix the friggin' car mode about this problem, and she looked at me and went, you are one dumb man. Just hold me. You don't have to fix me. Just hold me and listen to me. There's the thing. Just be with me and listen to me. And it was like this 2x4 smacked me right between my eyes, and I went,
Duh.
oh, right?
Well, and so, I mean, I can't, I want to reiterate that what you just said, because it's so true. It's like we overcomplicate things, and it's like, oh, I got to do this and this. The good news is like, no, you don't. It's like that hug, just that hug of being held. Maybe not always, but 9 will get you 10 so many times.
Yeah.
That's all that is needed.
Yes. Now, the other thing that came to mind as you were speaking, which is again this foundation issue that you, I know, are the master of, because I've been in sacred circles where you led couples to express, men and women to express about the abuse that they had suffered from their loved ones, from the opposite sex. And I I'm so blessed. I have never been abused in my life in any meaningful way. I mean, the extent of my abuse was my mom left me in my crib when I was little to take care of my younger sister and her dying mom a little longer than I would have liked, right? That was like that I have not been abused in my life. I've not been bullied. I grew up in a loving family in Canada. I didn't have to worry about going off to war. I have been given this beautiful life without the post-traumatic stress of having suffered and endured abuse. And in these sacred circles, it has been such an eye-opener to me to see, especially how many women have had to suffer from that, from men in their life across the spectrum. But there are plenty, a very high percentage too, of men that have had that in their lives too, more women. And so it's one of those things that if it's there, somehow there needs to be a way to resolve that PTSD from that abuse and move out of there, or there is no safety about, oh, I can express to this other person what I like, what makes me feel comfortable, because it's terrifying. You know what I mean? So this is a bit of a downer part of the whole paradigm, but it is so essential. And I'm sure that's why women express to me, whoa, I feel safe, I feel comfortable with you. You need to teach other men how to have this happen, because I don't have that vibration in me that has been abused, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's
Well,
there,
there's, that frequency or that vibration, we can all empathize. We can all have compassion. I've worked with many people, both men and women, who have experience. So we're talking about range here. There's a huge range. And I've worked with many people, and you're right, such a huge percentage of talking about emotional harm or physical harm or, sexual harm as well. And so it is a very delicate subject. It requires great care. The good news is that with care, with consistent attention, and with unraveling the beliefs that sustain that trauma, especially that trauma that gets embedded in the body, that is very unconscious. I'm sure you work with this all the time. We don't even know that is there. Two things. One is that, I have sometimes, people saying, well, I don't know if there's any trauma, but I'm sure there was. It's like, what I say is we don't need to make up trauma that hasn't happened. Okay. And so the other part is that if there has been trauma there, it does take patience and care to melt those inhibitions, those places that trigger fear, that trigger panic, even that cause the even someone who really, I work with people all of the time who love sex, who like sex, who love intimacy, who are very passionate, creative people. And, they have places where they close down. They don't want to close down. And so what I say is that the people that I work with have these places that come up where they need some guidance and they need some step-by-step help of how to I wish I could say, okay, you just do this overnight, you just talk about it a few times and there, boom. The truth is that these are delicate places. Wouldn't you agree?
Totally. And what you said about those experiences being trapped in the tissues themselves. And this is an area that, certainly is part of my practice professionally, but it is a huge issue. And how do you start to have the touch and the ability to release those feelings and sensations and fears from the tissues? And it can be the tissues of the genitals, it can be the tissues of the neck, it can be wherever, but it's in tissue that needs to be. It's not just psychologically and emotionally you're making the other person say, their actual tissues need to go, ah, I can relax, I can be safe with this person touching me. You know what I mean?
Yes, because there's these places that can be automatic and
Yes.
that they can happen physiologically, they can happen emotionally and also mentally. And so you're absolutely right. It really needs to be a combination of all three: the heart, the emotions, the beliefs, the thinking, the mind, and also how you touch physiologically in the body. And so this really does take practice. And as you said earlier, there are practices that you can do to become a more caring, sensitive lover. In my book, all of this starts with recalibrating how we listen to one another. And when we open that listening, we can start to hear. Then instead of ignoring, our partner says they want something, they need a gentler touch, or they maybe are feeling closed down. So to truly listen to that,
Yeah.
to acknowledge that, to hear that, to slow things down enough to say, hey, that's okay. We don't have an agenda here. If that's how you're feeling right now, let's allow that. Let's give
Yeah.
that space. And then with connection, with acceptance, then possibly it can be moved and shifted. And this is the case with like the most advanced, quote unquote, advanced healing practices, advanced sexual practices, advanced energetic practices. It all comes down to that first connection. Are you going to slow down enough to listen, to have connection, to have
Yeah.
rapport, and to not have a timer of somewhere, I got to heal, I got to fix this person? That's what creates trust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
When I feel you're correct, like as a woman, just as a woman, when I can feel it, I can smell it when someone wants something and they have
Yeah.
an agenda, or they think they're gonna give me an orgasm or something. It's like, no, that's not how the deepest layers of our um, love and affection come forward. Okay,
Yeah.
they come out by allowing them to be, and it's okay if it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Right on, Amara. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, so we have some beautiful, beautiful comments going on here. Rebecca says the way strength coaches do. Strength coaches do. Oh, I guess she's talking about a strength coach. They don't force the stretch beyond safety. That's perfect. When you work, I love that analogy. When you work out in a gym, maybe the coach can see, oh, you could do 50 reps or 100 reps, but for goodness sake, that's not where you start. You might have a little bit of a stretch, but then you create a zone where it's okay. it's safe to be, as you started out, if it's safe to be vulnerable. So
Yes.
it's okay to be right where you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Glenn, do you have any final tips for either men or women of things that something that is just absolutely vital to create trust and safety in the intimate realms?
Wow. Now there's a tall order. Let's see the pearl of wisdom, right? uh,
Yeah.
I think, Amara, what you said just previously about listening to the other, both ways. Men, we've been talking more about how do you what do you do so the woman feels trusting and safe. Men have all these issues too, in terms of how women are listening to their men is equally important. And so there's this dance between, it's again this yin yang dance, these two polar major forces in the universe of love and fear. And so love is simply that approaching the other, that very calm approach that's gentle, and fear is just that retreat that's
Yeah.
anxious, and so that dance is going on. And so being able to just listen and be on the one side, and be aware that the fear is going to, okay, you just told me I was doing it wrong, I was touching you wrong, right? That's the fear mind, the little fear mind in there going, she just told me what she liked, only that means I was doing it wrong. Uh-oh, I'm a bad person. And you go into the fear side and retreat. Just be aware that that's going on. And okay, you're not going to stop it, but you can go, okay.
So, like I can hear a couple of things in there. If I could simplify it, it's like, you can expect there's going to be some comments, some refinements, and just don't take it personally. Don't take it like it's like, oh, you really messed up. It's like, it's actually a signal of like, you're getting closer to something that if you don't take it personal, like as a rejection. But what you said, I just want to end with this. In the beginning, okay, I want to summarize because what you said in the beginning was so right on. Before you get rejections and all of that, like begin in your communication beforehand of letting someone know that it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to not know. It's okay to not be sure.
Yeah.
And that you're gonna, maybe explore and discover together. And if you say, well, I don't know either. So there's a couple of things there to ask questions and to say, create a safe territory before you enter the space. So those are just a couple of highlights, and we could go on, and I'm very excited. I'll just say it. I want to say it live. Glenn, would you be willing to come back someday for round 2 and 3?
Omar, I would love to. I really enjoyed this. I'm tingling all over. It's just been, I just, yeah, I absolutely.
We can definitely have a round 2 and a round 3, part 1 and 2 and 3. And I just want everyone to know that if you need some guidance, you need some help with this, I want you to know that you can give me a call where I can talk with you personally about how you can overcome some of these places where you need to repair that trust, that maybe it's not safe. Maybe the communication has broken down. Maybe you don't know how to create that bridge where, you express what you want, but then it doesn't happen. And you ask again and again, but it doesn't happen. So if you need some guidance, you need some help, we're here for you. Give me a call, set up an appointment. I've got free consultations at amaracharles.com/talk. I'm Amara Charles, here today with Dr. Glenn Wilcox. Thank you so much for coming on board. If you want to get in touch with me, book a call, book a session, there'll be a link that'll be posted down below. So thank you so much for coming by, Glenn. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye for now.
Mhm.